Sorry about that. There's a little delay. I'm gonna edit that part out of this video. You won't see it. I saw a flash over here through the window. I was like, "What was that?" It was like an orange flash. It's just the neighbor. This was a few second pause. I have to do a disclaimer on this video. I'm never out to, intentionally ever to, like upset anybody. I don't. So I hope you don't find any part of this video upsetting. But it's a genuine question, and since I read every comment, I'd like to read what you have to say. And say in the comments, and I really do mean that. I spend an enormous amount of time reading comments. I also love the fact that you love my past two videos a whole lot. This is a serious question, and it's just a couple questions, and I'd like to know what you think about it. But I never want to discuss things that are, could ruffle someone's feathers the wrong way. I don't, but I mean, people need to stop, sniffing their own flatulence inside their own little nutshell, where they're a king or a queen, like the little, I brought this shell out. Isn't this a beautiful shell? And like the little crabs, that live in these shells, people are like that. And they something they don't like, they roll themselves back up into the shell. Most appropriate is a beautiful shell, by the way. People need to expand their minds, and one of the most important things I've ever said in countless videos is that nobody is their beliefs. There's a reason behind 99.9% of the strife and the conflict and the horrible things that go on in the world is that people think that their beliefs, when someone else says something contradictory to their beliefs, like, oh man, that's an affront to me. I don't like that you said. It's like, well, I was actually going after the premise of the stuff that you believe. This is who you are, and this is your beliefs. Yeah, but you are not your beliefs. And I've said that countless. That's the cause of 99% of the misery in the world. It really is. So I don't want this video to be, someone to get their feathers ruffled. Try to have an open mind, for God's sakes. Yes, I said God. For God's sakes. For once, not saying that you don't already have an open mind. So I had to do that disclaimer in this video. But it starts off with the premise of telescopes versus belief systems. I could use the word religion, but that word is just so charged. And by the way, please don't ever, ever, ever call me an atheist. Okay, I've not that I'm not sensitive. I'm not like that little crab that rolls itself inside the shell. Okay, I'm not like that. People attack me all the time, especially in email. I don't like you, I hate you, you're fat, bald, and ugly. Ah. I get emails like that. Serious question, and it's called telescopes versus, I think that's going to be the title of this video, telescopes versus belief systems. I could use the word religion. I'm trying to dance around this. I'm not going to dance anymore here in just a few seconds. And it's two-part, okay? It's very, very simple. I'd like to know what you think. I've made the statement before in a prior video that nothing like a supposed truth, nothing that has, the truth was not around anywhere until, person, grand guru bada bing, the spaghetti monster was descended from the sky, and, the perfect, he or she or it or whatever rose out of a lotus in the pond, and it strode, flew through the sky, and it descended to bring us the great wisdom. That's of course belief systems and religions, which I'm not interested. Please, whatever you do, as I meant before and skipped over, don't ever call me an atheist. I'm not like that little crab in the shell. I am not an atheist. I have no connection to it. True atheism is called metaphysical atheism. I have no connection. Please don't ever call me that. Not that I don't find it offensive, which I do, but if you think I'm one of those, you don't know anything about me, which of course you're just watching a video. But here's the question, telescope versus a religion. That's the second part of what I'd like to hear from you. But before talking about that, the premise, which is undeniable, and I've never heard anybody over the decades that have talked about it in various places, anybody that's able to refute it, that if it has a beginning in time, that, in other words, the truth didn't exist until, the book descended from the sky, or, grand guru so-and-so came along. And I was like, so this is the ultimate truth of the universe, and, it didn't exist until this person or being came along. That's right. So what about, the 10 trillion people that lived and died before this person came along? They're all doomed to, the pits of fiery Hades. Yeah, well, you don't ask that question because you invite people questioning their own beliefs. When you do that, then they get upset. So I don't care what people believe. It's none of my business. By the way, I never am interested in changing, anybody's belief. I don't care what you do or believe in or do with yourself. That's none of my business. I'm not interested in changing that. Evil people want control over other people. They want to change them and they want power. I'm not interested in any of that. But it's just a simple question I'd like to hear your answer to. That if it had a beginning in time, let's just say this is the teachings. I don't have a book in front of me, sorry about that. If it had a beginning in time, it cannot be ultimate truth. It can't be. Well, it always existed, but nobody knew it until that person came along. And so that's why, that's our... In other words, everything that's based around this one person or persona, it doesn't really matter because the truth was always there, but it was just made manifest. You ask them that question, and of course they don't have an answer. In other words, the point is that no absolute truth could have a beginning in time, and it cannot be centered around a person. I mean, it can't be. Some people, of course, are reductionists, and they think that there is no such thing as ultimate truth. It all, it's like a building. A person might be standing on the lit side of a building, another person might be standing on the dark side of the building. They're both giving accurate descriptions. This is a relativism fallacy, by the way. There's no such thing as ultimate truth, and this is completely not true. Everything has a center, yeah? But the relativism fallacy that many people make is that, well, they're both describing the building accurately. They're having different observations of the same thing from different positions, and this is true. But whether you're standing on the lit side of the building or the dark side of the building, the center of the building is the center of the building. So everything does have a center. Metaphysics, genuine metaphysics anyway, is, of course, genuine. But my premise to you, and I'd like to hear from you, as part one of this question, and I kind of been tap dancing around this because I don't want anybody to be offended. People today get offended so easy. My question to you, what do you have, or what is your position on the fact that if a teaching has a beginning in time, it can't be ultimate truth, or if it is centered around a personality, a persona, then it also, too, can't be ultimate. In other words, everybody before this person came along or this book came along is doomed, because they were living in ignorance that doomed them to the fiery pits of wherever, right, of any belief. Once you get people not their beliefs. Here's the other question. Second part of a question. I am tap dancing around in this video, but I consider this an important video. You might not. However, I'd love to hear your opinion. And it's called Telescopes versus Religion. Now, some people don't believe there's any stars out there. What they believe is none of my business. I don't care. Some people think there's no outer space. I don't care about that either. Whatever you want to believe is perfectly fine. Doesn't make any difference to me. People are not their beliefs, by the way. Is that, remember the Hubble deep field view? It looked at the darkest part of the night sky, and it did a super long exposure, forget how many days. And then in that Hubble deep field view, which you could download that image, high resolution images of it, in that darkest part of the sky with the extra long exposure, we saw, I don't know how many hundreds of galaxies. And each galaxy, of course, is composed of billions of stars. Whether you believe that or not, don't really care. I mean, any rational person knows this is true. Same with our Milky Way galaxy. Then we have to take question number one, which I've already talked about extensively, and I tap danced around it, of course, to question number two. Knowing what we know, even though we don't know all that's out there, but even looking at the darkest part of the sky, even with the Hubble, which is old technology, ancient technology, really, so far as telescopes go, even the darkest part of the sky, given a time exposure, we see hundreds of galaxies. Just fascinating. And that's then the darkest part. And in each galaxy, who knows how many hundreds of thousands there. So not only is this truth cannot be ultimate truth if it begins with a person, centered around a person, or it has a beginning in time, I mean, which is ridiculous, that ultimate truth must be necessitatively universal. If Mother Nature, Natura naturans, were able to speak, she would nod her head in agreement. Whether you agree with me on making that statement or not, I don't know. But given telescopes versus belief systems, and I'm not trying not to use the word religion, but I mean belief systems, religion are one and the same thing. By the way, all religions are secularized metaphysics. That's my position. Consider it to be hermetically, not meaning hermeticism, hermetically sealed and accurate. In other words, it is unassailable. Kind of like something's hermetically sealed, the elements can't get in, there's nothing to attack it. In other words, it is an undeniable statement. You may disagree. Maybe you might be able to say something to the contrary on that, that metaphysics, that religions are all secularized metaphysics. From the premise of, in question number 2, telescope versus belief systems. I'm just going to use the word belief system instead of the big R word. Knowing what you know and all the countless lives out there. Used to be a nutty person believed in aliens, right? You're nuts. And now anybody that knows anything is like, it's completely impossible. It's astronomically, mathematically, a gazillion times impossible, just our galaxy alone, that there aren't other, civilizations out there. Just our galaxy alone, not to mention the thousands and thousands that we've seen in Deep Field View and others. Is it not therefore a ludicrous premise to say that, a person, and I hate to say this, and I don't want anybody to be offended, I'm not interested in, getting underneath anybody's skin. I mean, and this was posed to me by a very, very, very wise and intelligent person I used to know ages ago. I don't know what happened to him. We used to have really deep discussions. We were appreciative of our conversations with each other because we had no one else to have really deep conversations with. And he told me, these are his words, so don't jump on me. And he said, well, would it mean this person, I'm not going to name the person, would he have to die for everybody's sins? I mean, he died for all the sins on planet Earth. Does this mean that every countless millions of civilizations through those countless millions of galaxies, that you have to go to each one and die for all of their sins too? And he, of course, that was tongue-in-cheek and rhetorical question posed to me, and I said, that does not require an answer, which I'm not interested in giving an answer even if I had one, but is it a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant question. I have to honor him and that wise statement made from him. Is it not the case that, knowing what we know, that there must be millions of civilizations out there, and we're, of course, too far separated in space and time, unless, of course, we have some sort of technology. This is not about aliens, by the way. Please don't ever let this video be about aliens. That anybody that has a half a mind knows that there's countless, endless civilizations out there. Are we then of the premise that ultimate truth only resides with one small, insignificant person, whoever that may or may not be, and their teachings, that universal truth must be universal truth? Before that person came along, after, it has nothing to do with a specific book. And I'm not, and people say, well, it's in a book, it's dogma. Well, that's not true. I mean, if it's truth leading to wisdom and transcendence, then it is incredibly beneficial. So I'm not attacking anybody's book, okay, by the way? That it is universal. In other words, we can't adhere that ultimate truth is only in this book, and only if we know that person ABCXYZ, whoever that is, the grand spiritual bada bing, guru bada bing, or whatever, priestess bada bing, said it. And everything else is just a lie. This encapsulates Sophia Perennis. I don't know if you know what Sophia Perennis is. Something, universal truth. In other words, it is not contained only within XYZ book. It is not contained only within the blatherings or the words that came out of Bada Bing Guru's mouth, or this Bada Bing Guru's mouth. It must be universal. It cannot be contained only here, or through the vessel of that person. We're speaking about Sophia Perennis. If you don't know what Sophia Perennis, by the way, is also, too, now a publishing company. I think they're located in Louisville, Kentucky, not too far west of here, but that's not the point either. if you don't know what Sophia Perennis is, or traditionalist metaphysics, in other words, universal truth that is not, nor could it be, logically, necessitatively so, contained only within, the words or the blatherings of person, guru, ABC, XYZ. What are your comments? I really do. I don't mean that rhetorically. It's like, he's asking for my comment on this. I really do read every comment. I don't comment on response to every comment, but I do read them all. What's your position on this? And also, too, if you don't know what Sophia Perennis is, just universal truth. We could just say universal truth. If you know about this, we could just say traditionalist metaphysics, because metaphysics is about the ultimate truth that sits underneath all of these things, because nothing is known except through the modality of the knower. When a fish is describing another fish, it would be different if a fish could talk, of course. It would be different than a human being would describe a fish. But we're all describing the same thing, right? Something specific has seen, how a woman, of course there are differences between men and women. How a woman might describe something beautiful might be different than like a burly truck driver describes it. They're both describing the same thing. It's like, oh, I totally disagree with you. But they're both looking at the same thing. Say this beautiful seashell, for example. Someone that's into art, an art major, and is like a famous artist, is like makes beautiful art. How he would describe this beautiful shell, as opposed to like, a burly truck driver. He recognizes it as beautiful too, but nothing is known except through the modality of the knower. These things that are specifics are only specific because they come through the prism of that specific person. But the universal truth is outside what the truck driver or that art person might say about the shell, for example. But I'd like to hear your comments on that. And this is something nobody talks about, but it's actually an incredibly important point to understand and also, too, to think about. Specific truths that are only specific to this, it's like, there was no truth until this person came along. There's no truth until this book was, well, that can't be true. It's completely illogical. It's just, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't follow. Or as that one book is about philosophy. It's called, Does the Center Hold? When someone says that, by the way, truth only existed, no truth came along, no one was saved, no truth existed until Bada Bing came along, Guru Bada Bing. It's like, well, the center doesn't hold on that. That statement, that position, that belief, logical examination, the center does not hold. Oh, how dare you, you're going after my belief systems. Well, let's just leave that alone. You are not your beliefs, okay? I'm not going after you. This is you, and over here is your beliefs. You are not your beliefs. But everybody on this earth, well, 99.99% of everybody, I am my beliefs, this is what I believe, and what my beliefs are me, I am my beliefs. They're both one and the same. Like, no, they're not. No, they're not. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear your comment on this. Okay? I hope you didn't find this video, it didn't rub your fur, pet your feathers the wrong way. I hope I kind of kept it light and airy. It's not that I'm trying to tap dance around things. Oh, well, I kind of was. Let's just keep it simple. Thank you. Lux Everetas.